Time now to have a conversation with the former CS of Public Service and head of Capital, of course, Development, and the former Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, the former Speaker of the National Assembly, and also a Member of Parliament as well. This is Justin Muturi. He has written a very seminal book that you need to read. This is The Fight for Order, Justin Muturi, The Secrets, Political Deals, Statecraft, and a Reckoning with Power. And of course, it has been forwarded there by His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. Thank you for joining us this evening here on TV47 on The Insight. And of course, we are looking forward to plumb deeper into your book and just to tell us the intrigues of the political chicanery, the political, of course, intrigues that really happened behind the scenes that the public normally sees. And so today, you've written so much in this book as I just read it. And of course, the insights that we're going to pick up from here is going to inform Kenyans on where the political lay of the land is, the outlook of it is looking. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
You know, I read through it and there were moments of course, laughter, moments of astonishment, moments of, you know, just asking myself so many questions that are hanging on the rafters of my mind that I want to just ask you first of all. Beginning, we dial back the time machine to Kangaroo High School, right? You're in Form 6 there, and actually you're not very sure if now you're going for, you know, your A level. You are Muturi Bedan.
Yes.
But that name has to be changed to Justin Muturi. Will you tell us the intrigues behind the change of names? Good evening.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's a good point to start because it explains who I am. Mm-hmm. During my period between Form 1 to 4, I engaged in some little bit of, you know, funny games in school. We used to play cards.
Yes.
For money, and as a consequence, we missed very many classes.
Yes.
And at some point, it was decided that because we had not attended sufficient number of classes, we will not be allowed to sit for our O-level exams, a few of us. Somehow we pleaded with the administration, and perchance, they allowed us to sit the exams for whatever worth it was going to be. Mm-hmm. We did, and by that time, I was Muturi Bidan, between Form 1 and Form 4. Mm-hmm. But that's not to say that those were my only names. Mm-hmm. I already had my names as Justin Muturi.
Indeed, but of course...
But when I went to Form 1, I was mainly known as Muturi Bidan. Mm-hmm. So, as one of the
promises, so Muturi Bidan had the hang-ups of the past. You know?
Yes. So one of the conditions, one of the promises that I had to give to the administration to allow me to go back to Form 5 at the tail end was, and also to change my name and change my character from what I had been known to in the past. Since I was going back to the same school, and many of the students already knew me, those who were behind me. And indeed, those were also my classmates. So it's one of the reasons that I changed to Justin Muturi.
Muturi.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let's just go from the beginning. I read the prologue and I said I will begin from there because it is giving us a very good teaser on what this book is all about and the intrigues about the political scenario in a government.
Yes.
So the president, that is by then President Uhuru Kenyatta,
yes,
he calls you at night.
Yeah.
And you respond, he said, he is asking you, JB, can you come to State House tomorrow? Yes, I can, I said. What time do you need me? You asked. Talk to Njay and finalize the details, he said, referring to then Deputy Chief of Staff, J. Muturi. And I go on and we see you now there in State House, and you meet Jay, already there, seated with the Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, Principal Secretary Karanja Kibiso, and Nancy Gitau. A very tense moment it is there. And Just to cut the long story short, because of interest of time, we need to cover more. You have a very tenuous, moment there with the trio. So you said, looking at Matiang'i and Kibicho, you two young men have decided you're going to run parliament for me because you were handed over a list. And in that list, of course, it was highlighted green, highlighted yellow, and highlighted black as well. I think these were the Kieleweke and the Tanga team. And they had picked people who were leaning towards the then Deputy President, William Ruto, to be earmarked that now if they had seats in Parliament, that of course will be retracted. Could you tell us more about this tense moment and how direct you are in just pointing at them? You decided you're going to run Parliament for me now. This was a first, so to speak, a step in Parliament, or in State House, I should say, where you had to make your mark and make sure that the return or the fight for order is implemented.
Yeah, it was quite a tense moment. I remember for quite some time, since President Uhuru had had his handshake with the late Raila Odinga. And actually, coincidentally, during the burial of my mother,
yes,
on 2nd June 2018, off the cuff, as the president was talking about issues that he had made promises to the people of that area, he used the word, as my deputy, huyu kijana, wakati atakuwa akitangatanga huku, atakuwa akiniletea habari ya mambo ambayo hatujatimiza. And from then on, that tanga terminology stuck on William Ruto, and everybody that now was aligned to him started being regarded as a tanga brigade. In the due process, they emerged another group led by the late Paul Koinange,
yes,
who was member for Kiambaa, and the then member of parliament for Nyeri Town, Ngonjiri Wambogo,
yes, which
termed himself as Kieleweke. So that divide started appearing and showing up in parliament quite often. And it was creating a lot of friction. But nevertheless, as a speaker, I had my own views about things, but without a vote. But I would nevertheless allow people to do whatever it is they did, as long as in the House they did what was necessary to be done. And therefore, things having moved quite a bit, it surprised me when I walk into State House in the waiting room and I find these two gentlemen and the lady and my friend Muturi. And then suddenly, friend Matiang'i hands over to me a brown envelope. And when I looked at it, I could see what was there. People marked yellow. I knew those were meant to be the ones somewhere in the middle. Green meant those ones who are in Kieleweke. And red meant those ones who are in Tanga. But so it caught me surprised. I wondered, who are these? Why would they be in the executive? Why would they want to get involved in running parliament? I had not complained about the fact of that divide giving me any problems. Certainly, even if I had raised discussions in private, certainly not with any of them. So I got surprised that they want now to tell me these people, the ones marked red, are to be treated in certain ways. They are not to be favored by the speaker, and things like those. And I got very, very furious, and that's why I asked them whether they wanted to take over the running of parliament, and whether they had ever seen me in their offices.
Yes.
Or even called any of them to ask them to do any changes about the personnel in the ministry that they ran. So I took great exception to...
So you were fulminating with anger there. Yeah, because just reading what you were saying here, you asked that categorical question. Have you ever seen me? And this you're pointing it to Fred Matiang'i, Karanja Kibisho, and Nancy Gitau. Have you ever seen me in your office asking you to transfer a county commissioner? That was for the Ministry of Interior.
Yes.
Or a chief, or an assistant chief, or even any officer in the national administration, I asked. There was silence.
Yes.
So now you think you can walk into parliament and start assigning roles? I said, voice burning with contempt. Who gave you the nerve? I didn't expect an answer. Nancy shifted uncomfortably. Matiang'i and Kibicho lowered their gaze. They hadn't expected any resistance. So after this, you of course walk now to the backyard there,
yes.
and you find Uhuru Kenyatta and the tree there seated waiting for you. Of course, the 3 chairs now are waiting for you to occupy. And you continue. Can you tell us more from that particular discussion? Because from here, we see also Eden Duale is a marked man, that he has now to be taken from the seat of the majority leader of the National Assembly. But also you are adamant.
Yes, because for me, it really didn't matter what somebody did during the weekend, whatever they did with their politics.
Yes.
As long as they did parliamentary work. And my concern was that here are people in the executive who are now to begin ascribing certain motive or behavior to members of parliament who are my subjects. And I felt this is wrong. And even as much as they insisted, they had made, of course, proposals as to who should be removed from what committee, to the chairman of this committee, leadership, and what and what. And I said, that's why I had to face the president direct and tell him, no, this cannot happen. The proposal for who was to be the leader of majority, I said, President, you know him. We've been together. We were with him in the previous parliament.
Yes.
You know his capacity. I also can tell you today, at that time, I know that house better than any one of them, those people who are making those proposals. And therefore, I said, no, I will not take this. Because remember, by the time they're doing this, they had already done it in Senate. They had replaced the leadership there. People like Murkomen had been removed, Susan Kihika and others. And, there had been those changes. Now they are coming to the National Assembly. And I was telling the president, look, the National Assembly is the fulcrum of parliament. If you cause disruptions in the National Assembly, you affect the performance and the output of parliament. Even you people in the executive, you rely so heavily on the work done by the National Assembly. And therefore, I was telling him, please, this should not be entertained. And somehow, President Uhuru seemed to agree with me with regard to the arguments that I made at the time. But of course, as you may find that in the book, Fred Matiang'i still cut, at the tail end, he ends up by saying, well, even if we don't change anything else or any other person, Eden Duale must go.
Why do you think he was particularly intent on Eden Duale?
I'm not too sure that I can ascribe a reason, but I think at the time he was perceived to be too close to William Ruto, yet he was the leader of a majority in the House. But my argument was, as far as I was concerned, and that's why I keep telling people, I don't hold grudges. I told them, as far as I know, notwithstanding how close he may be to William Ruto, he deals with me. And Eden Duale is very consultative. In a day, Eden Duale could come to my office about 3-4 times to consult about this. So I found he was, at all times, driving the business that was supposed to be driven by the leader majority quite well and quite effectively. And therefore, I did not see why these two had picked on him. And it's not, I was not just defending Duale for the sake of it. It's because I was working with him and I knew his ability and capacity. He was doing his work as expected under the Constitution. Yes.
But was it too close now to the then Deputy President? Because, of course, Aden Duale before has been on record saying, you know, me and Ruto, we get along famously. Then even if he is to tell me that I can jump from the top of Kenya International Convention Center and, you know, provided he assures me that I'll not break my legs, or I can even take a bullet for him.
Actually, he said that not
that sort of loyalty, yes?
He said that not about William Ruto. He said that about Uhuru Kenyatta.
No, it was William Ruto.
No, when he made that statement, you can go back to records. He was saying, because, you know, at that time, when he made that statement, this thing about Tanga Tanga and Kweleweke was not captured.
Yeah, that was before. I'm just referring back to the history of where, of course, he was talking about William Ruto. I'm very certain about that because.
Well, I don't know, but when he talks about even if he's asked to jump
from the KICC,
he was referring to, at that time, he was referring to Uhuru Kenyatta. And, you know, actually, Duale also used to consult with Uhuru quite frequently as leader of majority. Of course, given the new constitution, particularly when he came in the 11th parliament, the constitution Kenya 2010, you know, brought a new dimension of parliamentary architecture and the way to process business. And therefore, most government business used to be brought to the House through the office of the leader of majority. And therefore, because he doesn't sit, the leader of majority does not sit in the cabinet, he naturally had to consult with the president, the deputy president, and from time to time with the respective cabinet secretaries to understand when they are bringing certain business, what is the genesis, and to understand what informs particular, you know, policy decisions. If it's a bill, what is it that you are trying to achieve, or what is it that we are trying to cure? You know, if it proposes amendments to existing laws and things like those, and of course policy documents, several other, you know, in Parliament there are too many manner of businesses that come, sessional papers, because you cannot as one individual be expected to read through all those documents. And even as much as I introduced in my capacity as the chairman of the Parliamentary Service Commission, I had seen the need, given this new parliamentary architecture, to revamp the office of leader of majority and leader of minority, so that I gave them extra personnel, researchers, you know, legal personnel attached to them, employed by the Parliamentary Service Commission, because of the enormity of the job that they found themselves having to do. And they did the same also for the leader of minority, because, you know, you want to balance. But that notwithstanding, because even all these officers would be reading without necessarily the background that informed the government in coming up with certain proposals, that they may, or coming up with a particular business. So Duale, as leader of majority, very, very frequently would call the president. In fact, Duale, as far as I can remember, would call President Uhuru so many times in a day. You know, try to get to understand this. This has come up. This other one has come up. Your CS for this has not done this. Please talk to them and tell them that it needs to be done in a particular way. Things like that. And that's why also you would consult me so frequently. And therefore, I had come to form a very good working relationship with Duale. And I still respect him because he was, I still think he was, he did his job superbly, you know, and was loyal to the core.
Loyal to the core.
Notwithstanding the fact that sometimes he would find himself on the receiving end from members of the members, even from the governing party. He'd still find himself in trouble with some of them because somehow Duale always likes to be on top of things, which is a good thing for a leader majority given our constitutional architecture.
Right, so he's a good political loyalist. And I still insist that he was referring to, William Ruto, when he said that I'll take a bullet for William Ruto as well. Right, I'll go for the records, and of course I'll prop it up for you to just refresh your memory. But if I'm wrong, then I'll admit then I'm wrong as well.
You check that.
I will check it out, but I'm very certain.
He may have said...
I had a sitting with him as well on that particular question, I think some 10 years back or so. All right, I want also him really calling the president 10 times. You also had an incident where, the president, the then deputy president, William Ruto, called you almost 10 times.
Yes.
That, and this is a question that we want to discuss also what was on the headline of the dailies today regarding now the cabinet secretaries, bidding and, of course, promoting political experiences of the president. We just ran a story regarding that.
Yes.
The question has been, can cabinet secretaries also be apolitical, or maybe they're just, as it were, technocrats? You were called almost 10 times that you had committed a political constitutional coup. Would you kindly just tell us this particular constitutional coup, what it was about?
When we came in the 11th Parliament, and of course with my experience in the other Parliament where ministers were in the House, and members would file questions and ministers would be responding, because they're also members of Parliament, that was quite easy. And remember, the entire country had gotten used to that way of transacting business in Parliament. And it used to be a very popular time between the hours of 2:30 and 3:30, sometimes extending to 3:45 or thereabouts. It used to be very, very lively time, question time. Now, here we are, we come in 2013. Everybody is a member of Parliament. There are no ministers in the House, but members of Parliament in their representative role have to file questions. So what I inherited from the 10th Parliament was a situation whereby the chairs of committees questions would be filed. They're referred to the committee chairs, who in turn forward those questions to the ministries. Then the ministries would send back answers. Of course, a very, very unsatisfactory situation, because when an answer came, obviously the member who asked the question will read the answer as read by the chairman of the committee. Then he finds unsatisfactory or wants to raise supplementary questions on it, but he is asking a fellow member who merely happens to be a chairman of a committee.
Yes.
And the issues the member will be asking by way of supplementary questions are located, can best be found in a ministry. So that thing continued, and we found it so unsatisfactory, and members were very unhappy because, people started seeing that members are not working because we're used to the old system.
Before the Constitution.
Asking questions and ministers are answering. Here, now, people started, no, let's change this.
So this is not really a hang-up of, the prior constitution that we had, where the minister were also cabinet, or the members of parliament were actually then ministers. So you could answer questions directly to the then minister of different, dockets or portfolio.
It's something which was borrowed from Westminster.
Yes, indeed. It's
still, today, Westminster still has that, because it's a parliamentary system. Ministers in the UK are members of parliament. So they answer questions in the House. Sometimes the UK has, of course, changed. Sometimes most of the questions are answered something they call the Commonwealth Chamber, where the people who are members of the Speaker's panel presided at those sessions. Today in UK, the most exciting period is the Prime Minister's question time, which used to be 30 minutes. Now it has gone, I think it has been extended. It's a very exciting situation when you see members either asking questions, prodding a minister. Or, sometimes you want to embarrass the minister, of course. In politics, that happens.
Yes.
You want to show that this minister doesn't know the job, the docket that he or she has been assigned to lead. So, because of this, and then members resorting to say, no, we will not go before committees to ask questions there, the president and his deputy called me. We sat. Their complaint was that the CSs were never in their offices because they are before committees from morning to evening. This committee, and of course we have many committees, now that we have 349 members as opposed to the original 222.
Yes.
Senate also decided that they are going to have almost similar number of committees as the National Assembly, notwithstanding that their mandate is really quite limited. But we found senators asking questions which have nothing to do with the devolved functions, but they're asking questions about defense. That's a national government function. But because there's a provision in the Constitution, Article 125, which says that any house, either House of Parliament or any of its committees, has power to summon any person to appear before it to give information or give evidence. Now, so because that is a power given to the houses and its committees, so when CSs are summoned in whichever committee, never mind that the committee may not have, or the house may not even have jurisdiction to deal with the matter, they have always faithfully, appeared. So the concern that the president shared with me and his deputy was that please look for a way that will allow the CSs, many of who are not politicians, to be appearing not every day. So I felt that it was a good request. And because even having been a member of parliament myself in the previous system, I felt that we needed to change our standing orders, bring something that resembles, because I knew even Kenyans wanted to see these ministers or see CSs answering questions on the floor of the House. But there's something that has always, something which members picked from some debates that used to happen in the U.S. Congress, where the U.S. Congress people would never allow cabinet secretaries to appear in the plenary because they argue that those grounds, the floor of the plenary, is a hallowed ground only for elected representatives of the people. So our members picked the same, so they will not allow, remember, they will not allow unelected members of cabinet to come into the floor.
Yeah, but that was not really a provision also in the standing order, was it? Was there any provision in the standing orders for this? No. There was no provision in the standing orders?
It is just we picked it from the Constitution. Yeah, it's in the Constitution.
It is in the Constitution.
Which says that cabinet secretaries are not to be members of parliament.
Not necessarily them appearing on the floor of the House. Of course,
being not members of parliament, yes, they have no business appearing on the floor. But we devised something after some research which we undertook. Within a very short time, I sent out teams to go and get the experience of various other countries, the US, Philippines, Brazil, Senegal, Nigeria, South Africa, and France. In fact, the team that I went to, we went to France. We came back and decided to get a hybrid. We said, so as to make sure that we allow also the executive to function. Because even the executive is elected by the people, and they have to deliver. But nevertheless, Parliament must do its work of oversight legislation and representation. So we came up with an idea to craft something we called a Committee on General Oversight, during which time, you see, plenary is when the House, the mace is up, when the Speaker is on the chair. When you lower the mace, it is a committee. So we agreed with members that we will create a Committee of General Oversight to be presided by the Speaker, and either the Speaker or the Deputy, not any other member. Only 2 days. Pick 3 cabinet secretaries, 3 or 4 cabinet secretaries on either Tuesday and Wednesday, 2 days in a week. So they will come before the committee and now be asked questions and answer. When I put up the proposal, members were quite excited and quite happy. The proposal was passed and endorsed, and the standing orders were accordingly amended. So see, this is at the request of the executive. And also because I wanted the House also to feel, members to feel that they want to be seen by their electorate asking questions. So it was actually beneficial to both sides. So after doing that, I then called a breakfast meeting at Parliament, invited all CSs to come in the morning, very early in the morning, so that I take them through together with people like Duale and the Deputy Speaker, the late Joyce Laboso, and other members who understood what we had done. Somebody like Chepkonga, who was the chair of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. So, and members were quite happy. Some of the CSs... Yeah,
if you may just wind up on it so that we can...
I can give an example, like Charity Ngilu was very happy with this opportunity now because, you know, her, having been a politician, she wanted also to be seen on the floor answering questions.
Okay.
So it was a win-win for both sides, both the House and the executive. Unfortunately, at the time we were doing the breakfast meeting, in fact, the whole media was invited, we were there, and everybody was so happy. But some of the members of cabinet who are not politicians were a bit cagey about this thing. So it was that time, and usually I used to leave my phones in the office. That's when we finished that thing and it was agreed that we were going to do this. So I go back to my office and I find that William Ruto has called me more than 10 times. So I say, what's the problem? I didn't think this was a problem. So I call back and he tells me, JB, what is it you're doing? You're committing a constitutional coup. You're holding a cabinet meeting. You're chairing a cabinet meeting. I laughed actually because I thought he was crazy. He was out of his head. So how? I asked him, what do you mean, Bill? Chairing a cabinet? I thought there's a place for cabinet. This is Parliament. In the full glare of everybody, the media was there. We're just explaining this new procedure. And I reminded him, you and the president are the ones who requested me to come up with a system that is going to help your cabinet be able to work because we are constantly in committees. He says, no. I asked him, where are you? Are you in the office? He told me he was in the office in Arambe Annex. So I told him, let me just come, we discuss this matter because he was so cross. And, I thought it was a joke. When I went there, I found him, he was so agitated. I asked him, what's wrong with you? You and the president, it happened that at that time the president was not in the country. I said, but it is you and the president who asked me to come up with a system that can help you. Now we have done that. We called a meeting to explain to your CSs. How is that a constitutional coup? How is that a cabinet meeting?
But let me ask you.
So that's
you are a stickler of procedural propriety, the processes, the bureaucracy that has to be followed as well. So was this a surprise to him? Why didn't you inform him that you'll be having a cabinet meeting to just explain the new procedure that will be, of course, expected of the cabinet secretaries to appear before Parliament?
the invitations had been sent not the previous day. The invitations to a cabinet had been sent and had actually informed the president even before he left that we have come up with something which I felt and Parliament leadership felt and even members felt was going to be.
So this meeting was happening without his knowledge?
Whose knowledge?
The deputy president.
No, but I mean, having informed, when they called me, they were together, and I told them, we have found a way. In fact, when I reported to them, I reported to both of them, I told them, we have found a way. And when I was reporting, they seemed to be quite happy. But something suddenly happened. I know, I don't like guessing, but I suspect some people, let me not name them, went and told him, no. Parliament, members of cabinet cannot go to Parliament, this, what, all those issues. And I told them, so when we discussed, I realized where he was coming from. In fact, in 2022, when William Ruto was declared the winner, even before he was sworn in, when he started receiving members of other political parties, which is his habit, some other members of some political party, one of those guys that I suspect is the one who had told him this thing about the members, cabinet cannot step into the house to answer questions, was in a delegation, and he was sitting next to me. William Ruto started explaining to this membership of this group which had come that in his administration, he wants cabinet secretaries to be appearing before Parliament to account for what they are doing in their respective dockets. And this guy, he started clapping. I said, the way things change, 360 degrees. So I think at that time, I don't know why, he just felt he wanted to...
Okay, let me just put a follow-through question with that as well. I'd asked you regarding also a piece of news we've run this evening. Now, the cabinet secretary being embroiled in politics as it is, we're heading towards 2027. And now they are very categorical that the president, of course, he wants to retain his seat and they want to be involved, them to be involved in, of course, continuing with his agenda, his development agenda. You now, as a Speaker of the National Assembly, you came up with that particular, the Speaker of the National, you came with that particular provision that they could now appear before Parliament. Are you seeing any disparity with the laws? Because we had even Ed and Duale very categorical saying, with the new conflict of interest bill now, they've been given that particular latitude to be embroiled in politics. What do you think about it? What is your assessment of it?
Well, what I was doing then as Speaker was procedural issues to allow Parliament or members to perform their representative role much more effectively, as opposed to asking a question and getting an answer from a chairman of a committee who is not a member of the executive. Because when the moment that answer comes, and I don't know whether you recall the old system, sometimes even ministers, although under the former constitution, would answer questions, and a member who asks a question said, look, this is a most useless answer. Because maybe the minister did not find the details, because when a member is asking a question about something in their constituency, they have certain information. And because bureaucracy is in the habit, and they always want to show that they are working, things are okay, sometimes they will give ministers wrong answers. And let me say, because I'm also experienced in that other system, during Kibaki's first term, one of his ministers who was very, very effective was Mother Karua, when she was Minister for Water. Because Mother would never just take an answer that has come from the bureaucracy. She would she would make sure that she has dug deep, even called the member sometimes to the office, this is the answer I've received. Does this satisfy your issue? And the member said, no. You know, because of, the member will explain.
Yes.
And mother would go deeper. Whenever mother would come to give a response, almost invariably, members would be satisfied. Now, this system which I crafted was to ensure that members also are seen by their constituents.
Yes.
Asking the executive, holding the executive to account on the floor, but in committee. But something that will be done, you know, in a much more organized way, so the entire membership is there and they can hear. Because a minister could be responding to an issue in one corner of the country, which could be similar to something else happening in another corner of the country, and another member could also ask. It's not just the questioner.
Right. For the interest of time. For the interest of time.
There's no, what I did cannot be compared with what William Ruto is now proposing to do. And let me also say, the Conflict of Interest Act now, which purports to allow state officers to participate in politics, in my view, is wrong. And no wonder, and maybe I will not go beyond this, no wonder some Kenyans, civil society groups, have actually challenged it in court on constitutionality.
The Law Society of Kenya and also Babu Owino as well.
I think so. Yes, they have challenged that act. And I think it's only fair to let the courts deal with the matter, because they will be looking at it in the context of the constitutional provisions regarding...
So the cabinet secretaries, they're supposed to be apolitical?
Yes, they're supposed to be apolitical. Remember, actually, in 2013, Uhuru Kenyatta famously said that there are only two politicians in his government, himself and his deputy. The cabinet secretaries...
They're technocrats.
They're supposed to be technocrats. Certainly, of course, it was something new, and for those that were politicians, they found it, they were feeling a bit underutilized, because they preferred also, they were used to doing politics as well as doing the office work. So I suspect that William Ruto and his team are nostalgic about that old system, and I don't begrudge them.
Thank you.
Given the fact that he is seeking re-election.
Right. So finally, just on it briefly, and you've talked, I think a good game about it. You mentioned you're not fond of that quirk in the Constitution about appointing cabinet secretaries from outside of Parliament.
I mentioned what?
You mentioned also in the book that you're not fond of that quirk. You're calling it this quirk, of appointing cabinet secretaries from outside of Parliament. You seem to be desirous of the older order of the Constitution that we had before, that maybe member of Parliament will be also cabinet secretaries or ministers as they were before, isn't it?
Well, I got used.
You explained it.
I was used to that system, and I saw a lot of merit in people who also have some, who are able to balance both. But again, remember, we are now under the 2010 Constitution. And it says that cabinet secretaries are not members of Parliament. And therefore, they are not supposed to play politics. So we just have to live with it. Whether we like it or not, that is the Constitution, the supreme law of the land.
All right. I want just maybe to briefly, because also of time, I wanted to ask you some more questions here, because we are supposed to be clocking out by 11. There is an incident that you're talking about, also the Ministry of Lands, and by then you were in your capacity as a judge, and you've been transferred here in Nairobi, and you had your house there in Upper Hill. And one moment, a judge during, of course, your court proceedings after that approached you, and he wanted to talk to you regarding the parcel of land, their house that you were living in by then. And you've not mentioned this particular judge, but is a question of allotment letter Yes, and that was allegedly coming, of course, from the then President Moi. And this judge, and unbeknownst to you, had, found your signature, right? Somebody had found your signature within the, with the Commission of Lands there. Was it Wanjohi was then, or Wanjao? Yeah. And you confronted the judge at some point. You wondered how come you were not informed about this particular dealings, and there was some sort of undercuttings that were working there, needing to undercut you to sell the land, and some amount were also proposed, 12 million shillings, 15 million shillings to 18 million shillings. You can tell us more about this particular story, because this is bringing the rot as well of how we have, maybe in the judiciary, how they're gaming also the system in trying to, rip off Kenyans when it comes to land allotment as well. And you were in that particular scheme, unbeknownst to you, because your signature was, a fade there. There was a fake signature which was not yours.
Yes. Having come from Machakos, I was allocated a government house, and of course there was a lot of problems in Upper Hill area about water shortage, and I suspected that at some point I suspected that I was being, somebody was trying to make me suffer, but I didn't mind because it was very close to the workstation, so I found it convenient. So when this judge comes to me and tells me about a house, it first of all tells me that we can apply to be given that house. I told you, the first thing I told him is, I have no way of, how would I get to Moi? I have no way. In as much as, since they are being given, it was true they were being given, houses were being allocated to people. But I said, well, the only thing I know is that I was allocated to stay in it. And I have no way of reaching to Moi to ask him to allocate me the house. Then he says that he has a way. And so I tell him, okay, if you have a way, just let's apply. He went and drafted the application, brought it to me for signature. When he brought it to me is when he told me, but I am not the one who is going to take it there.
Yes.
That's why you'll see there's a third person, there's a third party. This person will have to be part of the people to get this house. I looked at it, I said, but so essentially then you want us to be given the house so that we can sell? He said, yes. I told him, okay, no problem. If he's one who is going to get to Moi, let him, I signed. Some few weeks later, he comes back to me. He's now quarreling me that why did I make him do a child's work? And yet we had already been allocated the house. I said, who? I have been allocated the house. By who? I'm not aware. So at first he did not believe me, but I told him that I have no way. I just came from Machakos about 2 years before, less than 2 years. First of all, how would I reach the president? It's not possible. But then he was insisting that, no, you applied and you have been allocated. I said, no, I have not applied. You are the first person who came here and told me to append my signature. You actually drafted the application. So if I knew I had been allocated, why would I? I would have told you, don't bother. I have it. So he tells me that is the one who disclosed to me that actually the house had been allocated to me and 2 other judicial officers. Yeah. And he disclosed the names. So that's how he told me. I told him I am not aware. but I'll find out from them how it is that I've been allocated alongside them. And so after some time, the judge actually believed me because he could see I knew absolutely nothing about being allocated in the house. So after he left, I thought about it, and I decided to call one of the officers. I found he was in the office, so I went to his place. And, talked with him, and just general stories. But then I told him, we've been allocated in that house. Because I could see he was also trying to dodge a bit. So he asked me, which house? I said, what's wrong? But you see, what I'm saying is not something that I can authenticate. Because I've just been told by another judge. And I don't want to tell him who has told me. So I told him and explained to him. After some time, I think he realized I was telling him the truth. And he suddenly admitted that, then he told me, the problem with you, JB, when you go to court, you sit for many hours, which was my habit. I would sit for many hours without adjourning. If people wanted to go for tea break, I would allow them.
Yes.
They would go. But me, I would continue working. Because you want to consider that you have so many people, witnesses are there, they have traveled long distances. You don't want to, you can forego things like tea. So he told me, there was a request, and I thought I can sign for you. Actually,
unbeknownst to you, yes.
Yeah, unknown to me, but it was so many months, more than almost a year before. He said, what? I said, okay.
But on what basis were you being allotted this particular land by the president?
No, you remember there was a time that government was just allocating houses, government houses, to people. Not necessarily those who are living in them.
As a payback for the political capital that they brought also maybe to the political arena?
No,
because
I think those connections.
I wanted just to go faster on it because of time, and I want us to cover just a large ground as well. Because harking back to also maybe your tenure in Thika, you are aware about an intrigue. I want us to just to tell us, because we are talking about now the fighting for order, the fight for order, where you could see discrepancies in order, especially where we had two people who were petitioning the courts to nullify an election that happened in that particular region in Thika. And we had the upper reaches of government coming from then a judge and even the Chief Justice at some point that were now interfering with your work. And this is where you're actually seeking also to move to, I think, in Nairobi by then, but you could actually feel that you were not given the autonomy to perform your own work, even from the office of the Chief Justice. That was a disorder that you didn't like, the procedural propriety that you didn't like. You can just tell us a bit about it because of time so that we can cover. I know we are really strained for time. There's a lot. The book is big.
That was quite a murky thing, but again, it came to discover there was a minister who was behind the whole problems. Those petitions were 6. And all of them, the main complaint was against the returning officer, who those days used to be district commissioners. So on one, they were telling me, the AG then started with the registrar, AG, Chief Justice Secretary. She gave me an order which I said, no, madam, what you are telling me to write is a court order. Where has it come from? I can't just write an order on the file. People must argue a case in court. I told her, no, I'm not going to take. Then stays a few minutes, 30, 40 minutes later, get a call again. I'm in court, I'm called. Chief Justice on the line. I go talk to the Chief Justice. He tells me what things are hot.
Who was the Chief Justice then? Oh, you want to be modest about it? It's in a book, so it's still.
I think I've mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, the late Cecil Miller.
Yes.
Yeah. So one day when we were talking, I told him, could you kindly allow me to come and see you? So when he granted me the opportunity, I carried the 6 files.
Yes.
Came to him in his office. I told him, my handwriting is not very bad. It's easily legible. Anybody can read it. So I told him, just read, this is what I've done in these files. You have been told that I've done something wrong, maybe you can see. Then, you know, of course, the Chief Justice did not appreciate the fact that at that time, there was a law called the Local Government Act, Cap 265,
Yes, yes.
which gave jurisdiction only to subordinate courts, not to the High Court at first instance. So he thought he could pick it. He realized, I told him, no, just look at the law. He checked, he said, oh gosh. Then, you know, after a chat, then he started giving me stories about the Second World War. He was fighter bomber pilot and what. You know, Miller was a very interesting man. Then we started smoking in his chamber. And he told me, brother, just go back and do what you think. Do, but make sure you do what is right. You know. Now, so I went back to Thika. The Chief Justice had not given me an answer. And they're still expecting me to do what they wanted.
Yes.
Allow this batch of petitions and dismiss the others. And I said, it's not possible. I mean, where is the law?
Yes.
So what I did, to be on the safe side, I picked all of them, and I wrote short statements disqualifying myself and transferring the files to the Chief Justice.
So you recused yourself?
I recused myself because I felt it was too much.
All right.
And I didn't feel that, you know, I was going to...
So we can see also this is a case of the judiciary being used also for political expediency.
At that time, of course, during the one-party rule, yeah?
Yes. During the turn of Moi, yes. Okay. Allow me just to play a clip because I want us to go also to Mbere North. And I think there's a storied history of just Mbere, yeah, by then.
Yes.
And we can talk about also your beef with Joe Nyaga then, which was very intense as well. But also it brings also to bear what would really happened recently. And I would be remiss if we have this interview and you don't really clear the air about it. So let's just play that particular clip of Mbere North by-election.
Excuse us, mheshimiwa. No, excuse us. Toke. Alafu kuja.
Toke bwana.
Hili ndio chama ni
Toka. This is not for the colors. This is just an ordinary cloth. No, I change. If it is in context,
wako na gari ingine pale wanapeana pesa. Wako na gari. Enda kabisa.
You must get out of here. Democratic Party leader and some of the
sheria ya msumano inakata mbele nyuma.
Aidha toa hizo nguo za
Maji inakata mbele, inakata nyuma zaidi.
Hapana.
Sheria ya msumano kidogo.
Kama kuna hiyo nguo hawezi kaa hapa. Kama kuna hiyo nguo hawezi kaa hapa. Atoe. Hapana, pate kara za tutaki. Pate kara za tutaki. Unaambia nani? Unaambia nani? Pate wewe.
running battles that maybe Uhuru attacking Mike, kuna mtu anafukuzwa, sijui amefanya nini.
Apigwe picha.
Wamwende?
So will you describe this as an electoral offense?
No.
Why not?
It's not. We raised a complaint with the presiding officer as to why they allowed that MCA to stand at the point where the people are queuing and whispering to voters as they walked in. If you remove that that jacket he's wearing, you'd actually see it's in full UDA colors. It is on polling day. And so we say, no, you can't be here. You must get out. If you want to come in, you must not come in this attire. So
do you think you really acted in the wisest of fashion in roughing him up?
Well, fortunately, I did not rough him up. I just, as you can see, we just said, no, you must get out. Because when we told the security people, they were just looking at us. So, clear evidence that they were all compromised. The presiding officer, I asked him, why are you allowing this man? He looked at me and he just continued doing the things. I said, these people are compromised. So we had at least to get this guy out. And you can see, when we took him out, I mean, he's not being beaten by anybody. He even got into his car and drove off.
There was a bit of a scuffle while we were watching it, yes? And,
but it's not with him. It's that other young man who was in red. Yes.
Okay, as we're winding up, I drove briefly because I think this will be the last question that I'm asking you. This seems to be having a storied history from your politics in Mbere as well. A wily and shrewd politician, Joe Nyaga, was out to make sure that I lost. He wanted to be the only Kani MP for the larger Mbere region. And here you say, at some point, I just jump a lot of words here, I was very upset. I contemplated organizing young people to beat up Joe at the next rally, but I changed my mind. We come also to page 149. Still, I think this is still now the Joe Nyaga issue. This is another incident as well. And my friend Sam Njiru, who is your long-time, of course, also a personal assistant, he saw what was happening and whispered to me, boss, ni kama kiti imeenda, the seat is gone. What? I said, as the horrible news registered in my mind. Instinctively, you say, I gave Nyaga a cold blow across his cheek. He almost went down, but his bodyguard held him up. Nyenze was flustered. In those few moments, I grabbed the papers from his hand and I was about to hit him when he ducked. He fled to his car, which drove off at a high speed. Nyaga's bodyguard and one policeman had tried to intervene. And then I think this matter went now to the then Secretary General of Kano. Niki we Muturi, derewa durahota siyasa. Because of your anger as well. Is it something that you think is new and is bound to be fulminating even as we're heading towards a general election? Briefly, as we wind up.
Just like the musician who said, "Stasimama maofu ya kitawala." This is the instinct in me. You see injustice. Yeah. That was the Kano elections of January 2002. Mbere delegates were 200. I was in control of 160. Joe Nyaga realizes that he has no chance of winning. Moi and sent Nyenze to come and preside. Nyenze was a cabinet secretary. Joe Nyaga was a cabinet secretary. Instead of Nyenze coming to Siakago, he goes and is holed up in Joe Nyaga's home. In fact, I took the media. They even took photographs of them driving out of the place now. So Nyenze is coming to tell us he's coming to preside over what election. And he was coming during the day at around 1. He was supposed to have been there at 8. People are so agitated. And Nyenze is coming to tell us that, we were trying to know how many people have voted in the grassroots. The grassroots is in Joe Nyaga's home. You just get annoyed. This is blatant, abuse of power.
Okay.
And you know what happened? Nyenze, actually, as he jumped into his vehicle, he said that he has seen people are very orderly here, they're okay, and he has found very, very good the people, the elections are held, and I declare Joe Nyaga has won. And he jumped into his vehicle. That's why his vehicle was also smashed. His kid was smashed by the people.
Okay.
I mean, that brazen misuse of power which is the same thing I'm seeing happening with William Ruto. You know? Why don't you allow the free will of the people to reign? Allow people to, even if you lose an election fairly, actually you should be happy. Because people have expressed their will. They did not, either you did not convince them.
Yes.
And the other person did better than you. You shake hands. For me, I think politics should be played in such a way that the winners and losers should actually shake hands. But that can only happen in an atmosphere which is free. People, the voters are exercising their free will unhindered.
All right.
And, without any coercion. Yes.
Thank you. Justin Muturi, thank you so much for making time to, of course, appear on our show this evening. The Fight for Order is a book, The Secret Political Deals, Statecraft and Reckoning with Power. I want to thank you so much. A rich stream of information you must read. Of course, we can't tell you the whole story that is in here so that you can actually go to the nearest book and buy the book. A very intriguing and, of course, a very engaging, compelling, captivating book written so well. An interesting reader, massive. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate your time. We actually stopped for time, and I want to thank you also for your good salutary, of course, effort to try and keep up until this time. May you sleep very well this night.